Right, because all the women are attractive.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much. So what are your thoughts on, I guess, feminism in general and everything like that?
Well, I mean, feminism, the original point of feminism was a good point, which was a lot of men acted like pigs, right? I mean, that's true. The problem is the solution of feminism was, okay, let's have women act like pigs also, as opposed to let's hold men to a higher standard, which is really what should have happened. They destroyed the very institutions that benefit women the most. You know who's benefited from feminism the most is men. Men have benefited enormously. We have to work less. You know, listen, if I can get my wife is in medical school at UCLA. I promise you, I'm going to take a sabbatical the minute she starts working. You know, feminism, women in the workplace is a wonderful thing. My mom was a working woman. My dad was actually home with the kids. Feminism was very good about getting women into the workplace. What feminism was very bad about was the idea you have to destroy all traditional values in order to get women into the workplace. That's a lie. It's not true at all. The greatest institution in the history of mankind for women is monogamous marriage. It is the greatest institution in the history of mankind. Before that, women were just they were members of harems, and they were victims of sexism on a routine basis. Marriage, anybody who's married, you guys aren't married yet, marriage is about equality. That's what a marriage is about. It's not about, the feminists have this idea of marriage that it's a patriarchal institution in which the man bosses the wife around. If that's the case, my wife certainly hasn't heard about it. So, you know, feminism has made a lot of mistakes, among them the idea that of separating marriage from sexuality, the idea that women should act exactly like men, that men and women are exactly the same. That's unnecessary. Men and women can have equal rights without being exactly the same. But the Sex and the City version of femininity is really quite repulsive and has led many young women to damage their lives because they buy into the idea that they can have sex with as many people as you know, promiscuous men would, and it will have no impact on them. Men and women are very different. They treat sex very differently. I mean, for men, there's only one question. Well, there are two questions: when and where, right? And women generally like to ask the question who. Well, Sex in the City says that women should not even bother asking the question who. They should just treat it like men treat it. And that's devastating because men and women are not built the same. They don't treat sex the same. They don't treat relationships the same. Women civilize men. That's what women do. It's one of the things women do. And men are supposed to provide for women. That doesn't mean that women can't provide also. They should provide also. It's great. I've insisted to my wife. I promise you, right now she's studying for boards, and every other day I'm hearing about how she wants to quit med school. And I tell her, you know, God forbid something should happen to me. I want to make sure that you can provide for yourself. I think it's very important that women get an education and you know, be able to are independent. I think women's independence is a phenomenal thing. That was the good news about feminism. The bad news about feminism is that they felt they had to destroy the superstructure on which all of Western civilization is built in order to get women into the workplace.
Last question.
So the first thing that I hate today is this insane piece by some crazy person named Jodi Allard. She's apparently a feminist blogger. First of all feminist bloggers are, I don't mean to generalize, but they're all crazy. So she actually has a piece today called, the title of it is, "I'm done pretending men are safe, even my sons." Really. And the entire thing is about how her sons are potential rapists. She says, "I have two sons. They're strong and compassionate, the kind of boys other parents are glad to meet when their daughters bring them home for dinner. They are good boys in the ways good boys are, but they are not safe boys. I'm starting to believe there's no such thing." She is talking about her own children being potential rapists because of rape culture. She said, "I wrote an essay in the Washington Post last year during the height of the Brock Turner case about my sons and rape culture. I didn't think it would be controversial when I wrote it. I was sure most parents grappled with raising sons in the midst of rape culture." Well, no, actually. It turns out that the vast majority of us who grow up as boys in households that have good parents, we're not part of a rape culture because we are taught at a very early age that you're not supposed to rape people, right? That rape is a bad thing. I thought this was a pretty clear rule of Western civilization for the past 1,000 years or so. Because I didn't think it would be controversial when I wrote it. The struggle I wrote about was universal, I thought, but I was wrong. My essay went semi-viral, and for the first time, my sons encountered my words about them on their friends' phones, their teachers' computers, and even overheard them discussed by strangers on a crowded metro bus. Right, because when you say your sons are potential rapists, that might have some bad ramifications. They're your kids, you stupid idiot. And then she says, "It was one thing to agree to be written about in relative obscurity, and quite another to have my words intrude on their daily lives." By the way, this is the same lady who wrote a column about how one of her sons was apparently suicidal, with a mother like this. And she says, one of my sons is suicidal, so we sat down and watched 13 Reasons Why. Are you the stupidest person on planet Earth? Okay, have you ever seen 13 Reasons Why? Like half the show is dedicated to why suicide is a choice that is driven by outside forces. It's not really in your hands. Anyways, she says, one of my sons was hurt by my words, although he's never told me so. He doesn't understand why I lumped him and his brother together in my essay. He sees himself as the good one, the one who is sensitive and thoughtful and who listens instead of reacts. He doesn't understand that even quiet misogyny is misogyny, and not all sexists sound like Twitter trolls. So he seems like a nice kid, but she's calling him a sexist and a rapist. He's angry at me now, although he won't admit that either, and his anger led him to conservative websites and YouTube channels. Okay, if the son of Jody Allard is watching this right now, please write me an email. I would be happy to have you intern with us here over at the Daily Wire. I think that you deserve better than what your mother has provided to you, a label as a potential rapist. I don't think you're a rapist. I don't think you're a potential rapist. You seem like a nice person. Your mother, however, seems like she is a harridan. She says, I teeter frequently between supporting my son and educating him. Is it my job as his mother to ensure he feels safe emotionally, no matter what violence he spews? Can she give an example of like the violence that her son is spewing? Is he coming home and going, rape, 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 rape? Like what exactly is he doing? Is he coming home and he's just saying, I saw a girl on the bus today. You know what I thought? I thought rape. I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. But when you're a crazy person, then this is what happened. And then she starts talking about her dating life. Okay, why do feminists always feel the need to talk about their dating life like anybody cares? She says, I joined Bumble recently after a 6+ year break from dating. I'm not overly interested in dating in the first place, but I'm starved for adult conversation, so dating feels like a necessary evil. Well, no, there's some of us who have friends. I mean, you could do that. It's just Bumble, as I explained to my married friends, is like feminist Tinder. Women have to initiate contact with men, so there's no inbox full of bleep pics every day. But feminists or not, the men are no different from the men anywhere else, and I quickly felt deflated. All men are... Okay, I have a general recommendation. If you believe that all men or all women are crazy, that everybody's terrible, maybe it's just you. Maybe it's just you. If every relationship you've ever had has gone bad, maybe it's not because all the people you know are terrible. Maybe you suck as a human. Okay, and I'm going to go with that on this one. She says, my sons won't rape unconscious women behind a dumpster, and neither will most of the progressive men I know. But what all of these men share in common, even my sons, is a relentless questioning and disbelief of the female experience. I didn't realize the common female experience was to be raped while unconscious behind a dumpster. I know a few females, and I don't know any of them who've been raped while unconscious behind a dumpster, at least none who have told me about it. And if they did tell me about that, I would say, can we find the person and hunt them down? Like, that would be my first reaction. Can we tell the police? And if not, is there a way that we can kill this person and get away with it? Like, that seems like the best possible, like, is that not feminist enough? Do I have to do more than that? So I do not want to prove my pain or provide enough evidence to convince anyone that my trauma is merited. Okay, if you accuse someone of rape, you might have to provide evidence of actual rape. Like, you shouldn't just be able to accuse anyone of any crime. Totally insane. Totally insane. Child Protective Services needs to show up, like, right now at this lady's door. Thank God it sounds like her sons are getting old enough that they get to leave home. Leave now. Leave now, okay? I will try to find a way to put you up in your own apartment. Seriously. Okay? You deserve to get out of there right now, Jody Allard's children. My God.
A disease. This is not my opinion. This is facts from the World Health Organization and the American Psychology Association. Just like gay people don't have a disease. Fact number 2. Rich kids stay rich, poor kids stay poor. Out of 1,800 billionaires in the world, 12 of them are black. Where you come from, where you grow up, how much your parents earn, whether your parents were married plays a major role in determining where your
is there a
life
question
you
mark at
end
the
up.
end?
Fact number 3. I would just like to remind you that hate speech is not free speech.
Yes, it is.
And my question is, since facts don't care about your feelings, why did you use false facts?
Okay, so none of the facts that I used are false. First of all, yes. No, okay, first of all, would you like the answer? Okay, so the 3 facts you mentioned, you talked about transgenderism. First of all, until 5 minutes ago, the DSM specifically defined transgenderism as a disorder. It defined it as gender identity disorder, now calls it gender dysmorphia, which doesn't even make sense. It says that depression is the actual problem, not the actual gender disorder, which again does not explain why the transgender suicide rate is upward of 40%, and the actual suicide rate for the rest of the American population is lower than 3%. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, you talked about income inequality, and you suggested that all wealth is inherited. This is nonsense. According to the IRS statistics, if you are born into the bottom 20% of wage earners in the United States, you will not be one of the bottom 20% of wage earners in the United States. 90% of people will not be within 15 years. There's tremendous wage mobility in the United States of America. Plus, there is not a group of people who just sit at the very top and stay there. People move up and down, in and out of the 1%. 1% just defines the line of income income. It doesn't define the people who are in that 1% of income. I've been in the 1%. I've been out of the 1%. It will happen to lots of people. People who are older tend to be more likely to be in the 1%. They weren't once in the 1%. What happened? Okay, so that's number two. Number three, you say hate speech is not free speech. It depends how you define hate speech. The only speech that is not free speech is speech that overtly defends or pushes violence. Specifically, speech that is generating violence, right? That's the only type of speech that's not hate speech. If I say things you don't like, that's not hate speech. And if you think that it is hate speech, you're a fascist. End of story. Knows anything about politics, they know you're evil.